They're all over the place. Get them. They're so close.
I got one.
Don't get cocky, kid.
But it's a Pod Bros exclusive. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard,
And I'm Sean.
and we're speaking the language of Fomance.
Fomance.
Yeah.
Battle lines have been drawn.
I feel like we should actually. You know what we need? We need to come up with like an intro thing where it's like whoop-boom, Richard, whoop-boom, Sean, whoop-boom, Fomance, boom-boom-boom,
Two enter, one leave. Two enter, one leave. So we are going to do, for the 11th time, Richard, we are going to do a draft. And this time we are going to do the video game character draft, bitches! Woo! So I'm sure a lot of you know what this is. I'll explain it real quick. But what we did back in the day is we decided we want to do these drafts. They are NFL style, 7 rounds. The first draft, we flipped a coin to see who would go first, and I won. So on odd drafts, I get the first pick. And in this draft, we are going to do video game characters, which I am slightly nervous about.
Right, because I don't know if you know this, but in the realm, if we're doing anything video game related, I'm gonna have to say I feel bad beating you with one arm tied behind my back because I feel like I've had to handicap myself a little because in this arena I would say that you're a bit lacking.
I'm not a big gamer, so I'm kind of curious what's going to turn out for this, but I am prepared.
If you're wondering, folks, he's busy doing productive things with his life, not like the rest of us poor schlubs.
So the only question I had to ask on this, I meant to ask before we kicked it off, but this is just characters you can play. So my first question is, if it's an RPG game, is just the character itself, does that count as a pick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and in RPGs, even though you can rename the character, you can, you can totally pick that character. Some of them go by I'm trying to think. Okay, I'm trying to think of one that I don't have that this would be a good example for.
Well, like a World of Warcraft character, let's say.
Okay, I don't think you can rename. Okay, yeah, let's say a World of Warcraft character. You could. Any even though you can change their name, some of them have like a standard name that they go by that most people know them as, and you use that, or you could refer to them as the whatever. It's fine.
Okay, so then I'm ready to go with this. If you are,
I am, to quote Darth Vader, this is going to be all too easy.
This is going to be an underdog story. You just wait.
I will say that I did put a few picks in here that are not really lesser knowns, but games that probably more not really sentimental, but more personal to me, like games I grew up with, and I mean they're still popular, but anyway.
Yeah, so that's kind of what my list really entails, is like sentimental, or as we know, I haven't finished a ton of games, so a lot of these characters are from games that I love so much that I've actually finished. So the first one I'm going to go with, this is a game that I played on Xbox first, and when I got
I'll give an example. I'll give an example of Sean. I think you bought Assassin's Creed 4. Have you even touched it yet? You've had it for what? Over a year?
It's been a year and a half. I played it for maybe an hour. So I got my PS4. I played that for about an hour. I played a shit ton of NBA 2K14, I think.
Yeah, he's that guy. He's that guy, folks.
I am. I play a lot of sports games. And then I bought baseball, and I played it for a couple hours. And that was pretty much the solidification that, I'm probably done with video games, as sad as that is. But this first game is one that if they come out with another version of this for the new consoles, I probably will get back into it for just this. But I played this on a buddy's Xbox and absolutely loved it. It pushed
Okay.
me in the direction to get a really good understanding of how like just normal RPG games work, like desktop games and things like that.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with probably my favorite, at least one of my favorite PS3 games. I'm gonna go with Elder Scrolls Oblivion main character.
Okay.
So
I think most people refer to him as the hero of Kvatch.
that the hero of Kravach is what I'm taking for that.
Not Kvatch. It's Kvatch.
Krovach. I can't even
Where
say.
is your mind at today?
I'm not even gonna write that down because that's just gonna say hero of crotch.
Kvatch.
I mean, I love
Yeah,
this.
go for it.
This was the game that you could set up the character however you want. I kind of like the character development on this one more so than Skyrim because it seemed a little bit more not destiny based. So in Skyfall, you were destined to be the dragon guy, but with this, you could pretty much be whatever you want.
I get what you're saying. Like in this one, you're more the support. You're more of a supporting character to the overall story.
Yeah, to an extent.
Like you're wandering around and you're helping the. I don't know. So I guess I should call spoilers on this game, even though it's God, how many years old? 7, 8. In the game, you are given you're basically working to put the Martin Septim on the throne, and also help stop the Oblivion Gates from demons pouring out into the world. But like I said, you're not really you're not like in the story. You're kind of more supporting the characters in the story.
Yeah, I'd
like
agree.
you're around when stuff happens, but you're not directly involved.
And like with those, I mean, in Skyfall you had the dragons, which was cool, but this you got to go into another dimension, and there's a lot of guessing to figure out like where all this stuff was because each of those dimensions were very different, and so that was kind of a cool aspect. All the gear you could take from there, and I just really liked the ability to create that character. And this was really the first experience I had with an actual RPG. So, it's like, do you want to be a swordsman? Do you want to be a magician? Do you want to be a range type player? You had all those choices, and this was the first time that I really got to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say even more so with that game than other games where you could it wasn't like, hey, if you want to be a fighter, then you get this amount of strength, you get this amount of dexterity, you get this amount of, health. You could actually customize it and put specific points into specific areas. So say you wanted to be a warrior who occasionally likes to throw a fireball, then you can actually build your character up like that.
Yeah.
And it was honestly, in terms for RPGs, for me, I would say it was one of the first games I played where the way you played, like if you used a sword a lot, you got better with it.
Oh yeah. It seemed more realistic.
Right. Like the more you do something, the better you got at it.
You jump around or you swim, your athletic got better. It just made sense. So I mean, in this I played an elf. I think I only had one character I really went a long ways in, and I kind of played that battle mage type character. Like I shot a little bit of fireball, then had some sword action. I didn't really do any sneaking or anything like that.
I'm a completionist. I played a Nord.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a Nord. I had the long. I don't remember if my hair was blonde. I looked like Thor, basically.
Did you fight with a hammer?
I did use the sword a lot. After I got really, really good with the sword, then I'm like I said, I'm a completionist. So after I got really, really good with the sword, I switched up and then started into magic, and I started using a lot of magic until I got really good at that. And then I changed up and like did a lot of like sneaking around and backstabbing and stuff like that. Oh, that world was so big too.
Well, and that was kind of the other thing. I'm big into like Grand Theft Auto type games, so they're kind of semi-open world. But this one, you weren't stuck with a specific character. You were able to build your own character, and you had that open world feel. So it was really the first, because I bought the PS3 specifically for Assassin's Creed, the original. because that's how they sold it. It's like you're in this big open world and you get to go around and assassinate people.
That sandbox gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. And I opened up Assassin's Creed and like I'm walking in this open world and all of a sudden I hit this wall and it's like, oh, you got to do something before this is open. I'm like, well, that just takes away all the fun.
Right. But then you got to this and then you looked like way off in the distance. You're like, oh, look at that map painting of a mountain. Yeah, no, not map painting. You spend, half an hour walking. You can go to that mountain.
And I mean, I felt like I got my money's out of it because I probably put at least 200 hours on that game and probably could have done more.
Yeah. Oh, easily. That's Bethesda all over. I've actually heard rumors that this new Fallout 4, when it comes out, they're saying if you want to complete everything, if you want to see everything in the game, story-wise, quest-wise, location-wise, things like that, they said it's going to take you about 400 hours.
That's just so much time.
Right? I mean, but my thing is, like, tell me that's not worth $60. 400 hours worth of gameplay. Tell me that's because I mean these fucking games are pricey. I mean, you're asking me to drop $60 or more on a disc. Like, that thing better be worth $60. And one thing I'll say about Bethesda is I've never been dissatisfied. It's always been worth the money I've spent.
So I mean, like I said, 200 hours, 400 hours for the new Fallout. That's 17 days, straight days of gameplay. So for my first pick for this video game character draft, I'm gonna go with the Oblivion Hero of Cravash.
Very nice. Well, all right, I'll change it up a little, but only slightly. My first pick is a character that I grew up with. The journey of him and I started when I was just a small boy.
Oh God, it's gonna be a sword.
Lad, and we walked through many lands, and we've picked up items, and we helped save a princess, and we helped save a horse, and of course we found our true calling once we drew the Master Sword and became the hero of so many adventures, the hero of time, the hero of Hyrule. I am going for my first pick. I'm going with Link. And don't you dare give me any shit about the sword. You leave that be. So many games this character was in. The whole series. You had Legend of Zelda, first released, in 1985. Then you go to The Adventures of Link, which you could, another game, like you walked out of a place and then you got to wander around and do shit. Even the first one, you could just wander around aimlessly. And you did for quite some time, because a lot of times you have no fucking idea what the hell you were doing.
How old were you when you first played that game? Because I know I was about 5, maybe 6 when I first saw that game, and I couldn't wrap my head around it because I was used to like Mario, where it's like you go from one to the spot to the other. So I
want to say I was about like 6 or 7.
Okay.
When I first touched it, and that game has only gotten better. I mean, so you have all the Nintendo series. You have Legend of Zelda, The Adventures of Link. Let's go to the Super Nintendo, where you have Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which introduced the whole concept of the Master Sword. And was that such a fucking cool moment where you like finally like have the 3 pendants, and you go and you pull this thing and you have it, and then it's like, oh, now I have this badass sword. I want to do shit. I want to fight. Then first thing you do is like, I gotta find something to kill with this. So then you go from that to Ocarina of Time, which a lot of people argue to this day that it is still one of the best games ever made, because it actually started to introduce things like it started to make things more cinematic. Like the whole series became more cinematic. It became more thematic. you got more the characters in those games actually got to emote a lot more or at all.
What console was that on?
That was on the 64, the N64. I think I bought an N64, and I think that was that and maybe one or two other games were the only things I owned. Like I had that Nintendo 64 just for the Ocarina of Time. And I was totally fine with it.
Well, that's that's one of Nintendo's staple, characters that they have. And it seems if they ever get like a super awesome, like next gen type console, could you imagine an open world Link game? For somebody like you that's played that.
I've heard that's what they're trying to work on. Because so Ocarina of Time, amazing game. Now we go over to the Wii, and they had Twilight Princess, which was also such a fucking cool game. And that one, you got to be a wolf. You turned into a wolf.
Link is Jon Snow.
Oh my God, he is. Wait. Yeah, well, maybe. Kind of. I don't know. But the thing is it always seemed like with those games, they were all kind of separate stories. I guess I should mention Majora's Mask. That was another one, too, for the 64. But those games, like, it always seemed like one built on... Even though they were separate stories, it seemed like one built on the other. Like, they took what they had from the last one, and they took all the shit that worked, and they added new shit and put it into the new one. So you had, like I said, Twilight Princess, super fucking cool, super fun game. Skyward Sword, another really, really cool game. That's where you actually got to use your Wiimote to fucking swing at shit.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Shit.
So they treat it so you actually got to act like you were using a magical sword.
Yes. Shut up. You leave this alone. That game, Skyward Sword, also celebrated the 25th anniversary of the series. So now, let's see, we're now, what, 27 years? This series has been going on for 27, 28 years. That's got some traction. So yeah, so that's my first pick. My first pick is the hero of Hyrule, known as Link.
All right, that's a good pick. That's a very franchisey pick. I kind of figured that'd be your first one, just from...
Oh, are you calling me a sellout? Are you calling me a sellout right now?
No, that's you only see it on one console, so it's not like they sold the rights. They've kept it pretty controlled. I just meant franchising that there's been a lot of games that have come out for that guy.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of history, I guess. So my second pick, again, I'm going to go with, a game that I absolutely loved and one of the very few games that I have finished. This is going back to my PlayStation 2 days.
Ooh.
At the time, I had a girlfriend whose brother had a PS2, and he had this game, and I played it for 15, 20 minutes. And I think within a month, I had a PlayStation 2 because I wanted to play this game. This introduced the craze of bullet time for I believe one of the first times. I'm gonna go with the Rockstar game Max Payne.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was one of the first games that put the whole bullet time thing on there. Which I gotta say, it was a game I touched, but I didn't fall in love.
I guess I'm a very much of a Punisher type fan, and that's kind of what you got with this was like a real life Punisher.
Yeah,
it's a gritty undercover cop who gets caught, on the wrong side of the law because he basically gets framed. So there's a good story aspect to it. It's they had the graphic novel comic book cutscenes, so you didn't have like real actors or have to watch any kind of bad animation. It was comic book based, so that was pretty interesting. There was scenes where you would get knocked out or fall asleep or drugged, and you'd have like these dream sequences that were just creepy as shit. Like one, you had to walk on like this blood wire, and there's a baby crying in the background because I believe his son or daughter, I can't remember if he had a son or a daughter, but his child gets killed because of this drug. And if you fell, the baby scream just would creepily get real loud as you fell. And of course, I played this at night one day after work because I couldn't sleep. And after playing it, I still couldn't sleep. But it was a really fun game, and like they had the bullet time, the controls were awesome on it, the story was great. The only
Oh yeah, lots of guns.
Yeah.
You're big on the guns.
There's a lot. You got I think you could carry quite a feu guns with me. You had the Desert Eagle. You could shotgun it up.
You just like to shoot that gun and just penetrate everybody with your bullets.
Yeah, right in the rectum.
Wait,
What? Listen, it's not the same as a sword. Quit trying to turn this around.
aha!
But
Hoist it on your own petard.
another thing that I just remembered on this is a lot of times when you play these kinds of games where you build up, guns or weapons, you get to a point where you always have a stockpile of, ammunition or guns. You almost get overwhelmed with it. So you're like, well, which gun
True.
should I use in this situation? Should I use this one or this one or this one or this one? Max Payne had a really cool situation where I think you got drugged or you got knocked unconscious. And so you wake up in a room and the only thing you have is a ball bat. So you have to escape from this kind of warehouse area with just a ball bat. So, somebody coming down the hallway with a gun, you have to beat them with a ball bat and take their gun. And so they really put you at ground zero multiple times throughout this game, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you're more partial to those Punisher type characters. I think you're actually one of the few people I know that appreciated the Punisher as a comic book.
Yeah, it's I still read it today, and it's just, I'm kind of an underdog person, and the Punisher and like Max Payne is really that underdog story kind of thing. It's somebody who was just kind of thrown to the wayside and said, hey, we're going to put you undercover. You might die, but we really don't care. But now your back's against the wall. And you really have a vendetta, against this people because they killed your family. And it's just a, your typical story, man, finds beast and then shoots the shark and kills it. Wait, did we just talk about Jaws?
Yeah.
And the other thing,
Is it Max Payne or Hooper?
who's my second pick? And the other thing I'll close up on Max Payne is we got a movie out of that, and Mark Wahlberg gets to play Max Payne, and that was amazing. So
I just want to make it clear right now. You heard him. He said the Max Payne movie was amazing. So you guys everybody can debate that one over Twitter. Max Payne. Okay. I got to say it was a game that was not totally my cup of tea. Not for any particular reason. I didn't think anything about it was bad. It just, I don't know. It was just something with it and me didn't click. But I will say it was very, very, very popular. A lot of people liked it.
in the sequel, I played a little bit of Max Payne 2, and I didn't really get into it too much. And they recently came out with a Max Payne 3, which I didn't play. And I think that was more of he's just
Still holding my breath for that movie sequel.
Yeah, me too. They teased it.
Yeah, we'll go to Max Payne.
Yep.
That's where we're going. All right.
So my second pick's
All
Max
right.
Payne.
I mean, that's solid. My second pick is, of course, going to be infinitely better. I don't know if I doubt this one is on your list at all, but I feel like I should scoop it up anyway. This character is a character from one of my favorite RPGs of all time. Probably one of the best RPGs released in the late 90s. Well, no, was it late? Mid-90s. And arguably one of the best RPGs released on the original PlayStation. My second pick, I am going with the character who you could also rename, but he was known by a name. I'm going with Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. And you're totally blank on this. Cloud Strife was the main character in a game. I actually still own my copy of Final Fantasy VII. It's a little scratched, and I've tried my damnedest to get it to work. So far, if anybody out there can help me with how to fix scratches on a disc, like Home Remedy or something, like let me know, because I really, really want to play this fucking game again. Cloud Strife was the main character in Final Fantasy VII. This is the guy. He starts out as like the hardened, soldier, kind of a youth, and then the story quickly evolves into where he's a hero trying to save the literal planet. He's trying to save the planet.
Was this the Final Fantasy that had like the underwater soccer type game that you would play?
No, you're thinking of
Is that 10?
Final Fantasy 13?
No,
Kind of.
There was one I played where I can't remember if it was 7 or 10, but it was maybe it was 13.
It was called Blitzball.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking of 13.
Okay.
This one had chocobo races, which was basically the chocobos were like big ostriches. It was like a mix. It was like if an ostrich and a canary had a love child. That's what it would look like.
Sexy.
But I mean, this guy, he was like he had that big giant ass fucking sword, and you walked around and you fought all sorts of monsters and evil guys, and you're fighting against this evil corporation. It starts out that way, but then all of a sudden you find out that there's this overarching villain who you thought was a good guy, but it turns out he's not, and he's trying to destroy the planet and you're trying to save it, and you have all your friends with you, and you eventually get like an airship that you're flying around in. Big giant evil monsters. So good. And there you are with your sword that's like the size of I swear to God, the sword is as big as you.
Yeah.
It's like it looks like it's like 2 feet wide and like 5 feet long.
Big long hard sword. Was that what it was?
You know what? I teed that up for you, and that's on me. That's on me.
Was that a turn-based game too, or all? Cause the one I played was turn-based. Are all Final Fantasy games like that, or?
This one was the way this one worked is everybody had like a time meter, and it almost looked like a little progress bar. And once that progress bar got to full, then that character could make an action, and then it started all over.
Okay.
Depending on certain stats, their progress bar would go faster or slower depending on, mitigating factors. Final Fantasy was a series. It was a Japanese RPG. The U.S. didn't actually even get the first two. Like when Final Fantasy 3 released in the U.S., it was just called Final Fantasy. See, the Final Fantasy 1 and 2 were actually Japanese imports.
Okay.
That we didn't. The people in the U.S. didn't have them. So it was a Japanese RPG. The company that made it, Squaresoft, it was going to be like their swan song. Like they figured they were going bankrupt, so they threw everything they had into this one last game. And hey, if we, we'll make this one last game and then shut the doors forever. And it was Final Fantasy. That's why they called it Final Fantasy.
Oh, nice.
They were like, this is it.
So they thought they were going to shut down. So like, well, we'll just make this game that we want to make, and that's what saved the company.
It did. It not only, it saved the whole fucking thing. It not only saved it, but it made them. I mean, by the time Final Fantasy VII came out, they were one of the biggest Japanese RPG companies in Japan, and then this game crossed over and became huge in the U.S. It was huge because it was the first time like a somewhat Japanese RPG had appealed to an American audience, and the console it helped the console get popular. It was such an epic game. That game was on 3 discs. You had disc 1, 2, and 3.
Oh wow,
it was huge. I mean, I played it. Like your clock it'll say like how long you've played it, and it'll have like, I think my clock it says 99 hours, 99 minutes, 99 seconds. Like it timed out forever ago. But yeah, that's my character, Cloud Strife, because he's awesome fighting monsters with his Buster Sword. Fuck you.
All right, that's a good pick. I mean, it seems like a good popular pick. So for my third round pick, again, I'm going to go back to a game. I'm actually kind of going back in time as we go. So I'm going to go back to the Sega Genesis age. this was probably one of, I don't, maybe not the most controversial video game up to that point, but at least when that came out, it was a pretty controversial game. I'm not. I think this is what spawned the rating system on video games. So I'm going to take a step to the Mortal Kombat realm, and I'm going to go with one of my favorite characters to play on this. I'm going to go with Scorpion.
Ooh.
Back A. Get over here. My cousin Josh had a Sega, and he had this video game, and he was 4 or 5 years older than me. He's a little bit older than me, and I remember always wanting to play. I wanted to play this game so bad, but I was always worried that if I beat him, he'd get mad and make me quit. So anytime I was playing it, I'd like do a good combo. I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry."
Oh, you held yourself back.
Yep, I did.
So how good would you say you were at this game?
Oh, not very good at all. I mean, I probably played maybe a dozen times because I never had a Sega, and I'd never got this game for my Super Nintendo. And when I finally got the PS2, because I skipped the PlayStation, they had a Mortal Kombat game out for that I picked up, but it was just not the Mortal Kombat like I remember. It wasn't the, climbing the ladder.
The Super Nintendo, I want to say it was the Super Nintendo version, had blood, and the Sega Genesis version didn't.
I think it was reversed. Sega had the blood, and Super Nintendo didn't, because Nintendo wanted to be more of a family-friendly game. So, yeah, there was no blood in that at all. But you still could beat the shit out of each other and tear people's heads off.
Yes, you could. Which was weird, like, don't these guys bleed?
Did you ever play much Mortal Kombat at all?
I actually played it in the arcade before.
That's right, yeah.
See, back in the day, kids, when you wanted to play something super cool, you had to go to an actual arcade where they had these big giant machines that you put quarters in, and then you could play the game for a determined amount of time or until you died.
That's
my first experience with Mortal Kombat was actually on a arcade cabinet inside the arcade in the mall.
That was probably one of the last eras of those kind of video games, because it was like that, NBA Jam. Was there anything else that really came out after that stuff?
Oh, Soul Calibur.
Okay, yeah.
Soul Calibur. Like, honestly, I would say that Mortal Kombat was kind of like that's the one that started the trend of the fighting games, because then you had Mortal Kombat, and then it was Killer Instinct, Soul Calibur, Tekken, the whole Tekken series.
Yeah, what was the one with all female characters?
I don't know.
There was one. It was they're all like in skimpy outfits fighting each other. I can't remember what that one was called.
I don't know. I usually it was Sonya. You'd see that thing of Sonya and like, ooh, she's cute.
Sonya can have my blade. It
was one of the few times it was okay. It was okay for a guy to play a girl.
That's what made it okay.
Knew her moves.
But yeah, so my third round pick, I'm gonna go with the Mortal Kombat character Scorpion.
He has a whole backstory and history and lore. I never got into any of it.
Well, that's the other thing with that game, is they gave their characters a lot of depth. If you played the tournament and won, they give you a little bit of bio on what this character came from. There's this whole Sub-Zero, Scorpion, conflict.
They made a whole Sub-Zero, a whole game, console game based just on Sub-Zero.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was the Sub-Zero Chronicles or something. It escapes me right now. But fun fact about Raiden, the inspiration for his character came from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that just kind of blew my mind.
They literally looked at that movie and was like, that would be I was some interview with one of the developers and where'd you get the idea for Raiden? Because there's no Chinese thunder god. And they're like, do you ever see that movie Big Trouble in Little China? There's a guy, he has a big hat and he shoots lightning. Yeah, that's where we got it. That's exactly where we got it from. That was the inspiration.
So was Johnny Cage, was that what's his face's character then?
That Jack Burton?
Yeah.
It should have been.
That makes sense.
They should have just not had Johnny Cage in it at all, and then just had Kurt Russell like fighting. Oh, that'd be awesome. He could have like his boot knife and he'd throw it at people.
Yes. That's what they need to do because they have a lot of like unlockable characters in the new one. Like you can be Jason or
Yeah,
you can be Predator.
you could be like the
Yeah,
Predator
there you
and
go.
Jason. Jack Burton. That sounds so good. All right, your third pick. You're going with Scorpion. I have this big list here. It's so hard to figure out where to go next.
I'd probably say like one of the characters that has a big sword would probably be your next pick.
Ha ha ha. Oh, he's so funny. He's so funny. All right. I'm actually going with a character that does not have a sword and a character that is also not a male.
Oh.
Ooh. For my third pick, this was a game that freaked the ever-loving shit out of me when I was a kid. And honestly, the only reason I picked this character was because she started the game off with a gun. And the other character, the male, you could choose between a male character and a female character. The male character, you had a knife. The female character, you started off, you had a gun. And I was like, well, I'll go with the female character. But then by the partway through the actual game, you're getting kind of attached. I mean, not like in a lovey-dovey way, but you don't want this character to die. She's important. For my character, third pick, I am going with Jill Valentine from Resident Evil.
I remember when those movies came out, that pushed me to say like, hey, I'm going to check these games out. And that is such a difficult game. I always played the guy at first. I don't know why, because I was a guy. And you start out with a little knife and you're trying to fight these zombies.
Everybody did that. They started out with a guy, and then the zombie then they're coming around. They go around that corner, and there's the zombie, and they're like, oh, shit. And then you're trying to fight it off with a knife, and you're like, fuck. And then you die. And then you try it with a girl, and you start off with a Beretta, and you're like, oh, I can shoot it. So it, like, from far away, so it doesn't bite my face off. But that character just got popular because she had a gun. And then you're stuck. Because, I mean, once you pick a character in the game, that's who you pick. And so a lot of people pick the girl because you start off with the gun. But then partway through, you're actually, the character. Each of those characters had, Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. They had their own separate stories. I think, there were rooms that Chris could go into, but Jill couldn't, and vice versa. And you would never know what those other rooms are. So I mean, it was like two separate stories. Such a good game. Freak the ever that when you see that very, very first zombie, I think that's the first time I was actually scared from a video game.
Did you ever end up beating that game? Because I know there's a lot of puzzly type stuff. Like you'd be in rooms, you have to move stuff around to get out. Did you ever beat it?
Yes, I did beat it. I actually beat it. Not only did I beat it, I have beaten that game without dying.
Oh, nice.
Once. Played it from start to finish without dying once. Here's the reason why. This was like about when I was like 14-ish, and the friends that I played it with, because we'd usually like hang out and play this game, and we always smoked a lot of weed, like a lot. And the way that game worked was you would get these ink ribbons that you could use to save, and on the PlayStation you saved everything onto your files. You saved onto a memory card. Well, we didn't have a memory card on the PlayStation. We had, and all of us would all sit around and be like, man, like you die and then you didn't save it, so you have to start all the way from the beginning. You can't start from where you saved it because you can't save because we don't have a memory card. We should go buy a memory card. And then someone would pipe in, or we could buy more weed. So since we always went with the second option, we actually managed to play that game from start to finish without dying once. Simply out of necessity, because we didn't want to spend the money to buy a memory card to save it. Because I think even at the time they were like $10 or something like that. I mean, like, we're 14, we're poor. We gotta use our money for important things. You have to prioritize.
But weed made you guys more resourceful. I mean, otherwise you'd be saving.
It did. It did. See, anybody that thinks it's a terrible drug and that it could, it leads to non-productive things. I'll let you know that I can play Resident Evil from start to finish without dying once. Stick that in your craw.
That should be on a pro marijuana sign in Colorado.
It should. It'd be like, you want to play Resident Evil without dying? And I'm sure everybody in like their late 20s, early 30s would be like, I would love to do that. Smoke a lot of weed.
All right, that's a really good pick, I think.
Third pick, Jill Valentine from the original Resident Evil. Resident Evil.
So I'm going to take this back another generation of consoles. So I've gone from PS3 to PS2 to Sega. I'm going to go all the way back to Nintendo. As a youngster, I absolutely love this video game. People have told me that it sucks and that the arcade version is a million times better, but I will stand by this and say this is one of my favorite games of all time. I played it years ago again and still love it. So I'm going to go with the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game.
I knew it.
And which character am I going to go with? I'm going to go with Donatello. No, Donatello. You know why? Because his weapon was the best. You get...
I think his weapon was... I mean, you had that super, super reach with his weapon. I actually was in that game. I was actually more partial to Leonardo.
I would say Leonardo would be a close second, but Donatello, when you're trying to save April in the beginning, you can just smack Bebop.
Yeah, you just jump up on the little ledge and just hit him with the bow.
And you always just jump up on things and wait for him to bounce. You just hit him through, because I mean, it was Matrix style, I guess, so he didn't have to worry about not going through, rock or anything.
Right.
But I mean, that's really my selling point on him, is the fact that he had the reach on that, so you could hide in a spot and just kill things as they jumped up. Leonardo had a little bit of that, but I think Donatello the best. All of them still sucked in the water area, which...
Oh my God. I have never felt more rage than when you're swimming around. I don't remember. You're under a dam. And there's bombs planted under the dam, and you have I don't remember how much time. You have I think 3 minutes or something like that to disarm all these bombs. Oh my God. And it's at one point you're trying to swim and avoid this electrified seaweed. It's like playing a game of Operation.
Yeah, and you always drifted, so you always land into it. My strategy for that was always, I hated Raphael. Raphael was the worst character on that game. So I wouldn't use him at all, so he'd be at full health. So that way you just kind of whiz through him as much as you can. And then, hopefully you have enough life that you can make that drifting and get to the end.
Oh my God. I think about it now and it fills me with rage.
Because one of those bombs was encapsulated in it. So you just had just a small amount of room to get in. Because even if you were biting or whatever they did to disarm the bomb, you were still getting shocked. And so many times I get so close, I was getting shocked, and they die right before the bomb gets undone. It's like, son of a little 6-year-old Sean's about ready to break a controller.
Oh yeah, I threw it many a times. It seemed like, I don't know if it was just my age or if it was those actual games, but I'm going to say it was a little of both, but I never felt so angry at games as when as the games on the old school Nintendo. Cuz okay, I'll go back to Link, in the Adventures of Link, the sequel to Legend of Zelda. When you died at the very end, when you died and it was game over, it would say game over, the return of Ganon, and you would see the shadow of what is, I'm guessing, is supposed to be Ganon. And he had his finger pointed at you, so it would say game over, return of Ganon, and this little orc looking thing would be pointing at you, and it laughed. it laughed. And I swear to God, I have never taken anything more personally in my life. That thing pointed at me. That game pointed at me, and it laughed. Okay, I'm good. I'm fine. But it pointed at me and laughed. And little 6-year-old Richard, that was a grievance he could not bear, and so he would throw controllers. And I remember, I got beat so bad because I'd be like, and I'd throw the controller, and then my dad would be like, "Would you knock it off?" I'd be like, "You knock it off!" Oh no, that was a mistake.
There's nothing worse than getting pissed off and like you give that little like loud grunt yell, and then like nothing calms you down more than mom yelling at you. You'd be like, "It's just a game." It's like, I know it's a fucking game, mom. Oh yes. Video game rage.
God, I'm sitting here and I'm wringing my hands about it.
Well, I'll let you go with your next pick so you can get some good feelings to come back. But my fourth round pick, I'm going to go with Donatello from the original Nintendo Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
All right. I'm going to go, my next pick, I'm going to go with a game with a character that actually has no name. I mean, you do name him, but he has no name. He is simply known as the Wanderer. And this is the Wanderer from Vault 101.
Oh, there you go.
From the game Fallout 3. So, I'm trying to think. Oblivion came out. The Elder Scrolls came out. And everybody was like, holy shit, like, look, you can wander around and you can, do stuff and you can join these groups and this is awesome. Yeah, then Fallout 3 came out and then everything was like, holy crap. I can wander around this gigantic area, listen to old-timey music on the radio for some reason, which I always did. Like I always had like music playing while I was running around killing mutants.
Some little, 50s little jazz tune.
Yeah, it was all that it was like 1940, 50-ish like radio. I'm sure all those songs are like public domain and that's why they got them.
Probably, yeah. That would make sense.
But yeah, I mean it was like there was so much you could do. It was another game I wasted probably like 200 hours on or better. Because, like I said, I'm a completionist. I've actually visited every single location on that map, and there's a lot.
Do you get a
whole lot,
an award for that or anything, or like a achievement?
There is a trophy for it. I can't remember what it's called, but you do get a trophy for it. And not only that, I had the Game of the Year edition, so it had all the expansions on it. Yep, found all those too. I took my time and found every single location on every single map and collected all the gear. I have my house in Megaton. But it was a cool story because you start out in the vault and then you get out and like you just want to find your dad. That's all you want. You're visiting people and you help disarm a bomb in a town, but you just want to find your dad.
But and two, what they did with that game is your character, if you had karma. So if you were really, really bad, people would come after you because you had a bounty. And if you did really, really good, people knew that too.
Right. I would say that there were benefits and drawbacks to having good or bad karma. If you had bad karma, I think it helped. It helped if you were interacting with people like slavers or raiders, if like you were having actual conversations with them. I'm not sure. I always had good karma. I was a goody two-shoes. I should go back and play the game bad.
Yeah, the only part that ruined that for me is you finished it before me, and I think you either accidentally let it slip or I asked you, or maybe I read it and then asked you, but at the end of the game, you basically die. And so
Yes, you do.
There was no way to go on. And when I found that out, I quit because it was like, well, what's the point? If I finish this main quest, I'm done. And I just did not like that idea at all.
I will say that they fixed that with one of the expansion packs. I think it was called like Broken Steel, where the story continues and you don't die. So you don't die And then I think you can level up like another 10 levels or something. Like they put the level cap at 30 instead of 20. And there's like more story and stuff like that. But once that story's done, then you can still like just wander around and do shit. So you're with the main quest in Fallout, in the original Fallout 3 game, no expansions or anything. Once you finish the game, that was it. Like you were done. No more game for you. No more playing. So that's it. You don't get to do a bunch of cool shit after the fact.
Yeah, just hope that you saved recently so you don't have to get way far back.
Yeah. Oh God, did that ever happen to you? Where like you got like super, super far and then you realized you fucked something up and you had to go back to a save that you had like ages ago?
Skyrim bit me a lot like that because that was when I was kind of starting to fall out from video games, and I would be going through this, basically a dungeon crawl, and I'd be like, I keep having these thoughts about like, well, maybe I should save. I'm like, well, I'm going through pretty fine. I should be okay. And I'll be playing for an hour, and then all of a sudden I get just overwhelmed and I die. And it's like, fuck, I haven't saved since I started playing. And there's nothing that makes me want to go back and continue to play, so I would just quit.
Yeah.
So that was really the downfall of my gaming ability, or gaming, I guess, experience, because that happened to me like 3 or 4 times, and finally I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, I know. But
these are all things you should go back. You should go back and mess with this stuff. I mean, I shouldn't say that. You're a productive adult, and there's things you need to do as a human being. I'm lost. I'm lost to you. I actually go back and play these games like years later. Like just I don't know if it's just for the nostalgia factor. I don't know, but yeah, I go back. Right now I'm replaying a game called Wild Arms for the original PlayStation. Your 3 it plays a lot like Final Fantasy. You have like weapons and stuff, and I played that game when I was like 12 or 13. And I think it's simply for the nostalgia factor. And it's also, I mean, it's a good story, and I'm a sucker for story, so. But anyway, my 4th round pick, I'm going with the Wanderer from Vault 101.
Good pick. That's a character I've played, so I mean, I've got some experience with that as well. So for my 5th round pick, again, this is a game that I actually finished. I don't know, it's a series that I don't think you're really into, but it's one that I absolutely love. And if I had to pick one of the groupings of this franchise, I would probably have to go with this guy. So I'm going to take a trip to 80s era Vice City, where you're basically the Scarface character. I'm going to go with Tommy Vercetti and just the ability to rule the world of Vice City and the cocaine empire that you build.
So is this all you want to be Scarface?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. When it came, I've never really touched Grand Theft Auto. I did play the very first 2 on a PC, but that was just kind of like a top down. You wander around and steal cars and score points and stuff like that. I mean, it's really basic. Grand Theft Auto 3, I think, is when it really started developing kind of like an RPG kind of aspect to it, where you like had a guy that you followed along in a story.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 was Liberty City, and you had a character who didn't talk. I played that one a bit. This one was more of like, you saw a lot of comedy in it, because, they just, you had the radio station that had a lot of funny stuff on it.
Right.
It was 80s era, so it was great music. I think that was the first one that had a strip club in it, or at least that I remember there being a strip club. So, 16-year-old Sean going to the strip club being like, oh my God, cartoon boobies, this is amazing. You get to kill people and just do all kinds of fun stuff. And that's the kind of games that I've enjoyed a lot. Like Grand Theft Auto 5, I absolutely love. So, nostalgia, my prime gaming era, I'm going to go for my 5th round pick. I'm going to go Tommy Vercetti from Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
That's pretty good. I mean, I was never big on the series. I think I just never really have given it much of a fair shake. I don't know. I feel like it's something that I will probably eventually go back and visit.
They're kind of bro.
I don't know.
They're kind of bro games. So, I mean, if you don't really like that, I can see somebody being like, it's kind of silly because it's like, oh, fast cars, cartoon kind of shootings,
Uh-huh.
But like Grand Theft Auto 5, Tiffany watched me play that quite a bit, and it was funny. Like she liked watching it because there was a lot of funny parts, and that's the kind of thing. It's very much satirical, and that's what makes it awesome, I think.
All right. Decent pick then. I think that's gonna be something that I think I think that people will like. I don't know, not me, just because I'm not huge on the series.
And there's
My
no
fifth
swords.
round pick. I guess I should find something just as obscure. Well, I mean obscure to me. I'm going with a character. This one had games mainly. I played his games with him in it, mainly on the PC. They did have a console version. I want to say of both, but they're working on a new one that I'm super pumped about. That looks really, really good. For my fifth round pick, I am going with Adam Jensen from the series Deus Ex.
Okay, I'm not real familiar with that.
Okay. This game was kind of like a first person shooter, but it's set in like, okay, basically imagine it in I'm trying to think. It's like Blade Runner,
Okay.
where you have like this futuristic dystopian kind of society, and there's this big huge debate over people being augmented with cybernetic enhancements versus remaining pure and things like that. Adam Jensen in the game, the second one. I just say Deus Ex. I'm trying to think of the name, the actual the Human Revolution. He's head of security for a company that does these augmentations. There's an attack on the building, and these guys take his girlfriend, well, actually no, his ex-wife / head scientist away, and during the fight his body gets completely mangled. So then he gets replaced with a bunch of cybernetic implants. So throughout the game you get to, or augments I think is what they call them. So throughout the game you get to upgrade these augmentations and also upgrade and get new weapons. So it's basically you're like a robot cyborg, super cool guy because you're walking around everywhere wearing sunglasses.
Like a Duke
Like
Nukem.
everything's in sunglasses. He's out in the middle, like he's walking down the street. It's like 12 o'clock at night, sunglasses. He wears his sunglasses at night because he's fucking cool like that. Yeah, you could it would also kind of adapt to gameplay. You could sneak up on people if you wanted, and I think one of your arms turns into like a blade that you can stab people with, or you can augment your vision and put in heat vision and stuff like that. Super cool game.
So what console was this on?
I played it. I own it on the PC.
Okay.
But I think they have a PlayStation 3 version of the first Deus Ex game, because the one I'm talking about is the second in the series, but there was one before that, and I'm trying to think of what the name of the first one is too, and I can't think of it either. But I think they had a PS3 version of the first game, and then they released this, and then I want to say they also had a PC version of the second one. I played them on the PC. I really liked them. I think I got them for on a Steam sale or something like that for super cheap. I'll tell you what, if anybody, if you want to buy some cheap ass computer games, check out Steam, check out Green Man Gaming, Gamersgate, or GOG. All great websites to buy some super cheap games. But yeah, my 5th round pick, Adam Jensen from Deus Ex.
All right, so I see that's a pretty obscure game I didn't know about. I'm not sure how many people know about. So as obscure as I can make my next pick, I'm going to try. this was a PlayStation 2 game. Again, this was kind of my era of really enjoying playing video games. It was a game I played in college. It's one I finished. I'm going to go with the character Colton White from the video game Gun. This was a Western set game where you got to ride a horse, you got to fight the train robbers. It was semi-open world where you could ride your horse from kind of a prairie-esque, Midwest area all the way to like, Texas, New Mexico areas. You got to shoot pistols. They had a little bit of a bullet time type thing. And it was just a really cool. You went to a saloon. You got to be in a saloon fight. In this Dakota type city on the train. I think I let you play this once, but I don't remember if you remember this game too much.
I don't. When you first said Western game, I was like, oh, Red Dead Redemption, because I think that's the first one that comes into everybody's mind. I vaguely remember the title, but I know I never played it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this was before Red Dead Redemption. It's the first Western game that I ever really remember. I mean, again, I don't play a ton of games, but you had to be careful with your horse because if you went too fast, you could kill it. You got to go open range where you had to drive cows. I mean, it encompassed the whole Western idea. You had saloons, you had gangs, you had train robbers, cowboy hats, boots, rodeos,
boots. Oh my god, the boots.
But I mean, it was one of the games that I really got to finish and felt accomplished with. So, it always kind of holds a special place in my heart. And it doesn't seem like too many people have ever really heard of it. So my 6th round pick, another nostalgia. I remember playing this game in my dorm room in college. So that kind of holds a little bit there as well. So I'm going to go with Colton White from the game Gun.
I have as we've been sitting here, I've been actually adding names rather than crossing them off.
That's funny.
So it's getting slightly more and more difficult. I think I have my 7th one picked, but I'm gonna have to figure out. I'm going with a character from a series of 2 games where you never actually see the character's face. I mean, they do have it, you can, what he looks like, but the entire game is played first person. You're in the middle of this story, and you're the hero of this story, and your job starts out super mundane. You're just a nuclear physicist, and you work in this plant, and you're going to work to have your day, and you're working on an experiment with black holes and other dimensions. Guess what? Something goes wrong. Accidents happen. And then monsters come out. Holy shit. Monsters are taking over the plant. Holy shit. What are you going to do? Guess what you're going to do? You're going to pick up your crowbar and you're going to beat the ever-loving shit out of anything that comes your way because you are Gordon Freeman, the star of the Half-Life series.
Okay. Again, I haven't played this one, so sell me on this.
This one was okay. Half-Life was originally a PC title. This one, Half-Life was kind of the start of the, not really the start, but this is kind of what helped the Valve company get really super big. Valve is the company that owns Steam. Gordon Freeman was this hero. It was a weird game, not really weird, but it was a cool game in the sense that for the first probably 15 minutes, there's nothing going on. You're just going to work. It's a normal day, but it's all in this first person perspective. People are talking to you and you can look at them or you can look at the fucking wall. It doesn't matter, but there's, it's kind of like Skyrim where you get talked at about things, but you kind of still have control over yourself. And the whole thing starts out very mundane and you're just going to work. And then all of a sudden things go terribly, terribly wrong. And then there's these face huggers that are eating your friends and coworkers that turn them into zombies. So you got to kill those things. Then you got to kill the zombies. Then there's these other aliens that run around. Eventually, you're met by a person. I think they just refer to him as the agent. It's some guy that looks human, but he looks slightly off, and he talks in this very weird, not really weird. He talks in a very mannered voice. Hello, Mr. Friedman. And you end up getting pulled into what I assume is some sort of alternate reality for the second game, or into the future. I'm not sure which. In the second game, it's like the world has been taken over by this force called the Combine, and they have like soldiers and police officers, and humans are, beaten down, and and you're kind of the hero of the first one, so you're seen as a hero in this game, so you're meant to lead the revolution against the Combine in Half-Life 2.
Huh.
But they're both beautiful looking games and so awesome. Really, really good. That's my 6th pick, Gordon Freeman from Half-Life.
Nice. All right, so here we are, 7th round money shot pick. I still got a few of my picks available, but I'm going to go with one that is so nostalgic for me. We're going all the way back to Nintendo. This is a game that I still would love to play today. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to go with the character Little Mac from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I absolutely love this game.
Okay.
Because
Did you finish this? Did you punch out Mike Tyson?
No, I never got to Mike Tyson. I think I always got like 5 or 6 fighters in before I ended up losing like 2 in a row. There was a cheat code where you could get to Mike Tyson. But the thing I loved about this is like each of the fighters that you fought, there was a specific way to beat them. There was the hippo guy. If you knocked him out once, you'd win, but you had to wait.
Hippo.
Yeah, you had to wait for him.
You had to wait till he dropped his pants, and then he had the little X on his belly button.
Yeah, but he could knock you out with one punch. Wasn't that what he could do?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. He was okay. Here's a hard pull. There was a cartoon called Captain Power and the N Team, I think. And one of the villains in that show, the whole show had Nintendo characters in it. So, and it was a kid basically that got sucked into this world with all these Nintendo characters, and that they fight and shit like that. So your weapon, of course, is the zapper.
Okay.
The gun.
Uh-huh.
And King Hippo was a villain.
Oh, nice.
And that's honestly the only reason I remember King Hippo from that entire Punch-Out game. The one I remember is King Hippo because he was in this cartoon. Mother Brain from Metroid was like the super uber villain. But on the good guys team, they had Simon Belmont from Castlevania and Kid Icarus. Who else was in there? Link was in there, I think, for a minute. Dracula was in there. It's been a long time. I was little. I was probably like 6 when this show came out.
Yeah, and
Little Max.
Yeah, and I never got to beat Mike Tyson. I don't know if I ever got to fight Mike Tyson, but I just remember each character had something specific you had to do to beat him, and everybody remembers those. And I'm sure if I went back and played it now, I'd get that old memories firing off. But
Mario was the ref.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Mario was the ref. You had the training where you're running with your coach on the bike, and you see the Statue of Liberty. I mean, if that's not an American game, what is?
It is. I will say, like Little Mac. I mean, they call him Little Mac. Like all the fighters are always like 5 times his size.
Yeah.
Like whenever you go in to fight somebody, like they're always like fucking huge. They take up like a third of the screen, and then you're there like trying to knock them out.
It's his stats. It's like Little Mac is.
You're
5'2".
a sucker for an underdog.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Little Mackey's like 5'2", 120, and he's fighting King Hippo, who's 7'6", 750 pounds. But yeah, I'm going with the underdog Little Mac for my money shot 7th round pick.
Oh God, I am so torn between 2 characters. I'm gonna go with one that's actually a video game character. For my last pick, this is a character that once again played with on the Nintendo, and he was all about sneaking around and beating the shit out of people, and it was awesome. Second game, same thing, but then we get to the PlayStation, where the whole thing takes on an entirely new, I guess, gameplay style, where the concept of sneaking around people and and having these fights with guns and punches and knives and tanks, and it gets crazy. And then we go to the PlayStation 2, gets even crazier with more characters and more lore. And it gets so confusing that I don't even know what the fuck's going on. Then we get to then they make a third game that goes back into the 1960s. But the character still looks roughly the same, gameplay styles, obviously the same. The character I'm going with, of course, in this entire series is Solid Snake from the Metal Gear series.
Okay.
So, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 released on the Nintendo. Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation. Metal Gear Solid 2 on the PlayStation 2. And then Metal Gear Solid 3 was also on the PlayStation 2. That was the one that went back into the 60s, where you were playing... Actually, the character you was the villain from the first game. But then we get to Metal Gear Solid 4, and you're old. You're fucking old. You're an old man. But apparently you still got some spunk. Because you're still sneaking around and punching the shit out of people with the best of them.
So what's the concept on Metal Gears? So are you just like a soldier, or what's the...
Well, it kind of starts out with... It kind of starts out that, you're a soldier and you have a mission. As the game grows and expands, it kind of touches on the themes of genetic manipulation. It touches on the themes of, weapon, the whole military industrial complex, for lack of that is when people in power have control of money and guns, how good a thing is that? And the futility. I would say that the general theme, especially once we got to like Metal Gear Solid 4, the general theme would be the futility of war, the fact that there's always going to be a fight somewhere, and that these people that are on the battlefield shooting guns and throwing punches, they're simply the tools of other masters. Yeah, that's deep. I went deep. But yeah, good game. It was awesome series. And it's still going. Metal Gear Solid 5, going to be out. Actually, I think it's going to be out fairly soon. And that looks to be good. So, all the power to it. Great series, great character, great game. My money shot, Solid Snake. What up?
Good pick. Well, I don't know.
I'm looking at my list, and I just so good, so good.
So yeah, all I have left on mine is Mario and Pac-Man. I'm kind of sad I didn't put Mario on there, but just kind of a quick run through. What other characters do you have on your list that you've been adding to?
Okay, I had for other characters, I had the Dragonborn, of course, from Skyrim. That was always something I had, and I was like, let me do this one first, and I just got down to the end, and I was torn. I was torn between three of them, actually. I was torn between the Dragonborn and Solid Snake, which is the one I went with. The other one, Batman.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised you can get a Batman in there.
Batman, total. That was the first game that I played that the Arkham Asylum was the first game I ever played, and I was like, I'm fucking Batman. Like, I played that game, and I'm like, I'm fucking Batman right now. I'm sneaking around. I'm beating the shit out of people. I have all these kick-ass gadgets. I'm fucking Batman. Some other ones I had Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series, Gabriel Knight, which was from a PC series in the 90s by Sierra. The first one, Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers, really, really good game. Guybrush Threepwood was a character from a LucasArts production, a LucasArts game called The Secret of Monkey Island, which was fucking hilarious. Hilarious game. And Agent 47, that was another one I had. Oh, and GLaDOS from Portal. also a funny character. Followed by your death, and then we will have cake.
All right. Well, I'm gonna run through our list real quick. So, my draft, I have the Hero of Kavach, Max Payne, Scorpion, Donatello from the original Ninja Turtles video game, Tommy Vercetti, Colton White from Gun, and Little Mac.
And I, with my hashtag, the ultimate video game team. No, that's too long. Hashtag team ultimate video game. I had Link, Cloud Strife, Jill Valentine, The Wanderer from Vault 101, Gordon Freeman, Adam Jensen, and Solid Snake.
There you go. All right. Was there any closing thoughts you want to throw in there on our video game character draft?
You know, I know that we've kind of strayed from the whole video game kind of genre. I think this is something we should revisit.
Do video games of like on a specific console?
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying that I've been. It's video games is something I've been doing since I was 6 years old. I am now 33. And so it's been a huge part of my life. And I'd be remiss if I didn't nerd out about it at length in front of a microphone.
Well, hopefully I did okay on this one. I like we prefaced before, video games is not my strong suit. But something that is my strong suit is just doing some of this housekeeping. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out if you're ready for it.
You do that.
All right, well, follow us or go to our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe and leave a review on iTunes and Stitcher.
And don't forget to check us out on the Pod Bros Network.
We got all kinds of video games nerds over there at the Pod Bros Network.
I know. I should be on. I should. Yeah. I feel like I should, hop on one of their shows for a minute and nerd out.
Yeah, there's a couple you might want to holler at. We can get you on there. And also, go to tweakedaudio.com if you need some earbuds. Just use the promo code LOB Army and you're going to get 33% off. They got free shipping and a lifetime warranty.
It's so weird to hear that the earbuds have a lifetime warranty, but that's awesome.
Yeah, the ones I've got are pretty legit. I use them when I work out all the time.
Yeah, I have mine in my face. Well, not in my face. They're on my ears. On my ear face. They're hugging my ear pussies.
They're hugging your ear. All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
No. Let's wrap this up.
That's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver.
That was great.